I worked with Mark's wife, and Mark unfortunately had to leave already. But she heard me talk about how much I love the paranormal and the unexplained and all kinds of spooky stuff. And she said, hey, you should talk to my husband because he's just as crazy about it as you are. So I did. And we decided to put a call out in Caney and see if there were any other people in the area that, love the weird as much as we did. And we knew one of two things would happen. A, we were either going to get run out of town, or we would find out that there were others that were like-minded. And to say that we were shocked by the turnout would be an understatement. That first meeting, we had over 30 people show up. And we were so excited. So we kept meeting, and the numbers kind of dwindled down until you got to our core group here. When we originally started, we were just specifically ghost hunters. And we had some really amazing adventures, and we had some astounding discoveries over the years. But about 5 years ago, we started discussing how so much of what we were discovering seemed to overlap with the other camps, specifically UFOs and Bigfoot groups. So we began incorporating all of this additional weirdness into our research. And this ultimately led us to our first big ParaCon. And that's the reason why you guys are here today. But in doing so, we realized that we are stretched way too thin when it comes to gathering knowledge in all these different areas. And so we began to search for experts in these fields that we felt would be exceptional fits to our group. Some of the requirements were that they had to be relatively close to us in distance, they had to be exceptionally knowledgeable in their fields, and they had to be a great fit personality-wise with our core members. And truly, there were only two individuals that stood out. So Enzo Cyril is a retired Air Force veteran specializing in aircraft maintenance and aviation safety, and he's an amateur astronomer and a paranormal investigator. While living in his home state of Kentucky, Enzo witnessed his first UFO at the age of 9 and has been searching for answers ever since. Having spent 24 years in the Air Force, and with his hobby of amateur astronomy, he's spent an unimaginable amount of time photographing, gazing, and marveling at our night sky. And he is also a popular YouTube and podcast personality. He regularly guest speaks on the paranormal and fringe topic-based live web shows and podcasts, such as Spaced Out Radio, The Paranormal Chop Shop, Doof Doof Paranormal, What If Tomorrow on the Fringe, Bordertown Strange Podcast, Amok Paranormal, and more. And so Enzo was asked to join the Bordertown group a few months ago as our in-house UFO, alien, military history, and astronomy expert. And then we have Scott Rademacher, also known as Scotty. He is a research and field investigator with Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations of Oklahoma. His journey investigating the paranormal began with the Roger Patterson book that his dad owned, that Scott devoured as a young boy, and he still owns to this day. A personal Bigfoot experience really piqued his curiosity, and he has devoted his time to cryptids and the paranormal ever since. Scott also founded the Facebook group Kansas Sightings in 2021, and the page is dedicated to a dedicated forum for people to share their personal stories and legends based in Kansas. And we would highly encourage everyone to become a member if you're not. It involves ghosts, Bigfoots, cryptids, UFOs, and the supernatural. There's some excellent information that's shared on there. And Scott also guests on podcasts, such as Amok Paranormal, What If Tomorrow on the Fringe, Bordertown Strange, and Catching Up on the Dirt. And so Scott was asked to join the Bordertown group a few months ago as our in-house cryptid expert. So today, what we would like to do for the two of you is to present certificates of weirdness. There you go. And there's yours. And we would also like to give you a pin to formally induct you into the Bordertown Paranormal Society. So we want to express our appreciation and admiration of your skills and your knowledge, and we really look forward to all the fun times ahead. So give them a hand. Yay! Not going to do it.
All right, I think we embarrassed them thoroughly, so that was good. All right, where's my Kristi at? Are you ready to come on? All right, so up next is Tulsa's Kristi Campbell. Kristi is a psychic medium, energy healer, paranormal investigator. She runs an online business called Kindred Insights, offering almost 30 different types of readings and sessions. She also makes herself available to law officials and families who are searching for missing people. Immediately following her presentation, Kristi will be giving a free half-hour open floor reading right here in the convention room for anyone to attend. She's also available, of course, out in the hallway there for multiple types of readings. So I'm going to hand this over to Kristi.
Hey everybody, I was here a bit ago with the other panel. It was awesome, and thank you also to the amazing folks with Bordertown. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so grateful for all of you guys, and thank you all for coming out as well. So, as Jess said, my name is Kristi Campbell, and I am a psychic medium and quantum energy healer. I was born legally blind, and so the running family joke is that I was born with horrible eyesight but wonderful insight. And so growing up, I had a very interesting family dynamic in the sense that my great-grandmother was very intuitive, a little woo-woo, if you will, and she would always encourage me to learn about my abilities and that not having vision was not the end of the world and that I could be a strong, independent woman in many different ways. And so when I started finding an interest in the psychic world, she definitely encouraged that. All of my family have wonderful abilities in the sense that my great-grandmother, she was great with plants and animals. My grandmother would have prophetic dreams. My mom could hear spirits, and I could see them and hear them and feel them and smell them and all of the other things that are involved with spirits and paranormal. So as a child, I started seeing spirits at a very, very young age. I couldn't even tell you how young I was when it started to happen, but I do know that they were all my friends. They all had interesting names, and they weren't like, something out of the ordinary. It was like, oh, this is Jack, and this is Mary, and this is Bob, and this is Phil, and this is Dave. And so when I got to be around school age, I got to be a bit of a handful. The teachers would say, Kristi has been talking out of order in class, and she's been kind of a little problematic, talking to people that aren't there, and she swears that there's somebody there, but we know that there's nobody there. And so I would just talk to the spirits that would wander through, and you wouldn't think there'd be many spirits in, a preschool, elementary school, but by golly, there really are. And so it all boiled down to one day when I got called to the principal's office. I think I was in first grade, and I was talking to someone's uncle who had recently passed away from a car accident, and I got taken to the principal's office. I was tapping into my psychic abilities as well, and I was telling all my little friends things, and we would place bets about whether I was right or not, and I'd won a little bit of candy on those bets. So when I got called to the principal's office, it was because I was not paying attention and I was talking out of turn. And so the principal called me in, and I went and I sat down at her office, and I said, oh, no. She said, yeah, you're in trouble. I said, no, the phone's going to ring soon. Oh, I'm sorry. And she's looking at me like, you're bananas, kid, And so I'm like, oh, your mom is sick? And she kind of looked at me like, what do you, how do you, well, she was in the middle of admonishing me, and the phone rang, and we both kind of jumped a little bit, and she said, hold on a second. And she answered the phone, and sure enough, it was a family member saying that her mother had passed away. And she goes, okay, I'll be right there. And she hangs up and she looks at me and she goes, how did you know that? And I said, well, because your mom was standing behind me telling me that she just died. And she said, you know what, if they ever tell you that you're being a bother or being, a mess or whatever, just tell them that you can send them to me. You can just hang out and relax for a bit, because you're fine in my book, basically. And so that leads me into being a bit older and tapping into it a bit more. And my mom was convinced that I was not mentally sound because I could see and hear spirits, and she thought that she was schizophrenic. She was an alcoholic, and she had a lot of different issues. And so she took me to a psychologist, and she wanted me to be evaluated for mental health issues. I was probably about, like 9-10 years old at this time. And so I go into the office of this gentleman, and I am sitting there just looking around, and I see that there's an older woman there, and I'm like, uh-oh, not again. Because whenever I see a spirit, it means that I'm in trouble. And I tend to be a bit of a troublemaker in my time. And so he basically was like, well, your mother tells me that you see things that aren't there. And I said, well, here's the thing. I can't see very well, so I don't know what's there or not, but things talk to me. And so I said, like, for example, there's a woman here, and she's standing next to you, and she's saying that she's your aunt, and that she died from something here. So like, and he kind of got really still, and he said, she just died 2 days ago from breast cancer. And so then he said, you need to go out there and look at the fish, and I need to talk to your mom. And I was like, crap, I'm in trouble. And so I went out there, and my mom got called in, and the same kind of scenario. He said, your daughter is intuitive. She can see things. She's a medium. And back in the 80s and 90s, that was kind of a new kind of foo-foo kind of expression. And so my mom thought, well, she's not crazy. And he said, no, she can actually see things. And then she got scared for me because she was worried that things were going to attack me. And it was just a whole hot mess. But as I approached adulthood, growing up in the sense of thinking that spirits were bad, I learned through a experience that honestly, they're not. They're here to help us. When I was in high school, I was a bit of a mischief maker, and I lived on an Air Force base. And when I had a friend who was a bit of a troublemaker too, we'd go out walking in the desert in the middle of the night and do all kinds of stupid stuff. There was a man in a military uniform that would follow us. And I knew he was a spirit by this time, but I didn't say anything because I wanted to be cool. I didn't want to be the weird kid. I was always the weird kid. But, no skin off my nose. And so he said, you need to turn around. There's trouble ahead. You need to turn around. And my cool friend who I was with at the time, she's like, well, we're already halfway out there. We should just, I said, no, I need to go home. I don't feel good. So we went home, and they were having a practice run. They'd set up a little firing range, and we were walking in the pitch dark, and we would have walked right into that firing range. So he saved my life, and the same friend led me into a bunch of troublesome times until one day I had a horrible feeling. We were not getting along very well, but I had a horrible, horrible feeling. And we went out into the desert like we did, and she decided that we smoked as teenagers and did all kinds of troublesome things, but she would huff lighter fluid, which is very, very dangerous and very, very toxic. And so she went into a shock of sorts in the desert. And thankfully, the man that was following us around, the spirit, he told me there's a guard post not 20 feet away. You're hidden by the brush. Go towards the light. And so I ran towards the light, and I got the guard, and we were able to save her that time, but that was the last time I was able to spend time with her because she was just a lot of trouble, and she passed away shortly thereafter. And she came to me in spirit and she apologized. So I took all of this experience and more, and as an adult, I decided to make this my life's purpose. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help police find missing people. I wanted to help families find peace and closure. I wanted to be able to help loved ones see those who had passed through my words and through the expression of their loved ones, and also their pets. I bring a lot of comfort to those who have lost their animals, because sometimes animals give us love that humans can't. So I have been doing this for over 20 years professionally. It is my full-time job. It is my passion. And it is something that I am truly grateful that I have. I'm definitely a bit of a quirky soul, and I just truly enjoy giving back to my community as well as helping. I've helped so many people, and it's so rewarding. It's not a job where you become a rich person, because I am not a rich woman, but it is a very fulfilling job. I have so many anecdotes. I should write a book because of the fact that there's just so many there's so much humor along with grief. It sounds like a horrible thing to say, but in honesty, there's so many interesting stories. I had a woman that I was working with who she wanted me to come and try to connect with her brother. And so they were a very conservative Christian family. And so I went to her home, and the brother had passed away, and I had expressed the fact that, he has since passed on. And out of nowhere, I'm going to try to censor this because I don't want to get in trouble, but I heard, hide the weed because of the fact that my sister will lose her mind. And so he'd been hiding things in her couch cushions. And so I said, you might want to get a new couch. So some other things that had happened were I was trying to help. I'm originally from California, and so I moved to Oklahoma 18 years ago. And when I first moved here, I had the pleasure to help a woman try to find her deceased daughter's last resting space. And her daughter was brutally murdered, and they knew kind of who did it, but they couldn't prove it. And it was a very sad situation. And so the family and I went out, and it was brutally cold. It was winter time. It was very, very cold. And we went to the side of the highway, and I was like, it's near here. It's literally within 5 to 10 feet of this spot. And so we got out, and her aunt was walking, and she goes, oh my gosh, come here. And I was like, I think it's right over. And before I could say there, she said, come here, come here, come here. We walked over, and it was a barren field, and it was probably about 28, 30 degrees. And we walked into this spot, and I have never felt this before or since, but it was like we walked into the middle of summer. It was like 100-degree day. It was hot. It was warm, and we could feel wherever that was. It was almost like her essence was saying, this is where I was found, and this is where, we freed her soul from that area, and we let her go. My main goal in the work that I do is to not only find spirits and talk to them and learn their stories, but to also help them find peace, because sometimes spirits tend to hold on to their old trauma. That's why they can't cross over, because they have emotions. And for example, I had a woman who lived in this apartment in Tulsa, and she wanted me to come and cleanse her home. I do those things as well. And so I went over to cleanse her space. It's a tiny little studio apartment. And the first thing when I walked in, there was a man in a towel. And he's like, well, hello there. And I was like, hello, sir. Hi, I'm here to help cleanse your, I'm here to take care of things. She's like, you're seeing something already? You're seeing? I said, there's a man in a towel. And she's like, oh, at least he's covered, And so I sit there, and I'm sure to the family or to the person I'm working with, I think I'm talking to myself because I have full on, out loud, verbal conversations. And so I asked him, why are you still here? And this was the only thing he had. He had been homeless for 10 years prior, and then he got this apartment, and it was his home. He was a hoarder. He had kept a lot of things like newspapers and bottles and things that he felt like he could use if he were homeless again for shelter. And so I told him, there's a place for you that you will never be cold, you'll never be hungry, and you'll never need to want for anything again. You just have to go there. So I crossed him over, and the place instantly felt calm. And the thing is that she always felt like her house was cluttered, and she was a very, very like pin neat, tidy woman. And so when he crossed over, she never had any issue again. But I will say, one of the funniest stories that I have was, and this has happened multiple times with multiple different people, where one spouse is living and one spouse is deceased. And the spouse comes to me and is like, I'd like to talk to my partner. Okay. So I had this girl who had lost her spouse, and he came through with just this burst of energy. And they were talking about things and loving each other. And then she said something that set him off. And I just started going off on her about the car and not taking care of the car. And why doesn't she change the oil? And she's just not being responsible. And I bought you this car. How come you can't take care of it? If you can't take care of the car, then you shouldn't have the car. All of these like mundane everyday things, and bickering with a person as the spirit is just filtering through me. And I love you, but I'm so annoyed with you. And she's like, I love you, and you died, and I'm so mad at you. And he's like, well, yes, I did, but the thing is that I'm still here, and just because I'm gone doesn't mean you shouldn't shirk your duties. And by the way, I know you got that load of dishes in the sink, and I know you got that laundry that needs to be changed out, and I know you need to feed our baby, and I know. He just gave her the riot act, and I felt so bad because I'm here bickering with this woman who did nothing to me. And so the husband is just kind of ranting and raving, and I'm like, you feel better? Ready to cross now? Yeah. So he crossed, and this happens over and over. It's kind of like one of my running themes is that I let couples have it out because the living are upset that the deceased are gone, whether they took their lives or whether they passed tragically or with an illness. And another common theme is that we kind of touched on it earlier in the panel, is that I have a client say, I lost my loved one. I had a client a couple weeks ago. I lost my mother, and she promised she would give me a message. And so I asked the mom, I said, why don't you come and connect with her? And she goes, well, she doesn't sleep, and I can't talk to her because she doesn't sleep. And when she does sleep, she's sleeping so deep I can't get a hold of her. And when she's awake, she's doing all these things. She doesn't sit still long enough for me to be able to talk to her. I said, well, then do something, like flip a light switch or do something. Well, a couple days after this conversation happened, I got a call, and the woman said, I want to take it back. He's been flipping on my bathroom light for days. Please, oh, please tell him to stop. My power bill's going to be crazy. So I told him to stop. And then he started playing with her water, and it would drip and drip and drip and stop. And so I said, okay, you need to just not, and just let, so she's like, I know he knows I love him, so please just tell him to just be quiet. So it's definitely an adventure and a journey. It's a lot of fun. It's very heartbreaking. I've had a lot of clients who have had stillbirths or have had pregnancies that ended in, the child not surviving very long, and so crossing over children, and the children stay with the parents because they want their mommy and daddy, and they want them to know that they are there for them and that they support them, even as young as, infant. Children want to give their parents love. And so it's definitely a bittersweet situation for sure, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so rewarding and so enriching. And so I took these skills several years ago, and I was always fascinated with the paranormal and ghost hunting, and I watched all the shows and was like, oh, that looks like fun. Does that actually happen though? Because the spirits I deal with aren't that active. We have a chat and then they're done. And so I reached out to a paranormal group in Tulsa called Ghost. I'm still a part of their group. And I was like, I'd like to join. And oh, by the way, I'm a medium. And they're like, ooh, So I joined. I went to the meeting and I talked to the president. His name's Doc. He's my pal that's here today. And we investigate homes. I take it with me when I cleanse houses sometimes. And I feel like I gained the rest of what I needed, which was the scientific side, because even though I'm a psychic, I'm a super big skeptic, which is kind of odd, but I do feel like that paranormal investigation, as well as connecting with spirits, it goes hand in hand in a lot of ways. And I have clients that are of all walks of life, all religions, and I have a lot of Catholic clients, which is really interesting because they don't necessarily believe in life after death. But each one of them has had a message from their loved one proving that they are still there, that their soul is free, they're not in pain anymore. And that truly gives us hope, us the living, that there is more out there after death, and that there is love, there is acceptance, and there is peace to be had, in the sense that when we cross over, maybe someday we'll be coming back and talking to a medium and saying, let me tell you about my life and let me tell you about my situation. And it makes me excited because I think that no matter what we believe, knowing that there's individuals who have been here and that are there, are ready and willing to share their stories and give their love. And so I'm excited to see what the future holds with that as well. So I know we're going to open it up for questions here in a bit, but does anybody have any questions? Where's my guy? Anybody have any questions for me about the psychic medium stuff? I think I want to also say really quick, I want to define some terms for those that are new to this field. So psychic is someone who can tell you what's going to be happening in your life based on your energy and based on the insights that they glean off of your energy. A medium is somebody who can see spirits, and an energy healer is somebody who can utilize your energy to heal yourself and to regenerate your energy. And so that's what I do. Any questions? I think I've got questions. Oh, I can keep talking. I can talk all day.
Hi, Jim Gray. I was with you earlier, and I was going to catch you later and ask you about this, but since nobody's asking questions, I just do it now. You mentioned to me that I had a guide by the name of Helena.
Helena.
And that I could call on her, but I'm not familiar with this. I didn't quite understand what you meant by how I could utilize that connection.
Absolutely. So we have spirit guides and guardian angels or angels, And so we each have a team of individuals that we predetermined before birth. A common misconception is that when we have a loved one that passes away, they became our guardian angel, and it's not the truth, because we have to have we're like one of those Macy's Day balloons that blow around, and if we don't have a team around us, we're just going to blow down the street. And so we have these spirit guides that are here to help us. And so in answer to your question, to connect with your spirit guides or even your loved ones, it's the same methodology. So to connect with them, you can clear your mind and you can ask a question and listen to your stomach. If it rumbles, if it does something, you can feel the answer. Everyone's born with intuition. The more natural way to ask questions is through a tool like a pendulum or like a voice recorder. And you've had several clients have luck with having full-on conversations. Yes, no. It's harder for them to give you full answers. So either with a pendulum and pendulum board, or with and you can use like an old watch, you can use whatever you want, as long as it moves. Like a pocket watch is really good. Asking her questions or asking your guide questions can be a way to glean insight. And so some easy ways are just to ask yes or no questions. You can take a deck of cards, playing cards, and you're like, okay, if the answer is yes, the cards will be red. If the answers are no, the cards will be black. And you shuffle after each question. It's a super easy way to do it. And it's a super easy way to start working on your intuitive abilities as well. So I wanted to also touch on how I read people. I read people's energy as a psychic. And so we all have something called our book of life or our scroll of life. And that is housed in something called the Akashic Library. And so when I look at your book with my intuition, I can tell you things about why you chose your parents and siblings, what karmic debts you have with them, or what you have to work on with them. I also can tell you things about your partners or your future partners, things about your health, things that you were born with, things that you issues that you need to work on to kind of help so that you're going to have a longer and more prosperous life, money and finance, things like that are really, really helpful. When anybody books an hour reading or a half hour reading and they just want to have a reading because they've never had one before, I do this. I do the life mapping or life path reading because it gives you a lot of detail. I also do past life readings. We did that as well, and animal communication readings. And I have a website. You can grab a card by my booth. There's a lot, but absolutely. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can cover that you guys might have questions about, but it's definitely been an amazing journey and I'm looking forward to what it holds. And I've got a lot of goals towards the future, but absolutely. Any other questions? You can ask me anything. And then we're gonna open it up for mediumship psychic questions here in a few, but any questions for me specifically?
I have a friend that a lady I used to work with, and she always said that when certain, and I think it was usually people that she knew, but she would get very agitated and, she would know something was wrong. And the one that I remember the best was, there was a UPS driver that came to the business I worked at the time, or not at the time, but back years before, and he was her neighbor. And she had like a horrible night, she said she couldn't sleep, she didn't know what was going on, and then she found out, a day later that he had passed away. Is that sort of the kind of thing that,
Yes.
does she have some sort of intuition or whatever?
Yeah, she seems like a medium because if you can sense spirits, even if you can't see them, if you can sense something around you, I kind of akin it to like hearing like movement, but not really. It's like you feel like you hear a current of air is how it starts usually with connecting with those people. But yeah, that sounds like she's a medium or like a sensitive, somebody who can pick up energy of people and it causes a certain emotion or a certain feeling. Anybody can do it. It takes practice. It's something that can be really honed in. Anybody in the Tulsa area, I do teach classes on psychic development as well. And yeah, absolutely. There are people that are called physical mediums. I happen to be one of those, and it is a blessing and a curse. Smells, tastes, feelings, all the senses are established. And so, a funny story. So, I'm not a fan of fish. I can't eat fish. I'm allergic to it. And so, I moved into this house when I was in my early 20s, and it was a very interesting place. It was kind of like a duplex, but it was just an odd situation. I was curious about what the house used to be. And whenever I'd come home by myself, the house would smell like a fish market. It smelled so bad. And I would never see a spirit there. I would never see anyone at all. And so after a time, if I had family or friends with me, they wouldn't smell it. It was just me. So after a time, I was in a relationship with the person who I lived with. And at that time, I think, I was just kind of young and naive and just like, oh, well, maybe my partner cooked fish, even though I can't eat it, whatever. And then I had found out through a dream that my partner was cheating on me. And I was like, is this real or is this a bunch of, malarkey? And so, in fact, I did some research before the internet was cool and before, we had all the Facebook and all the social stalking things that we have nowadays to make things so much more easier. And found out that, yes, indeed, he was sleeping with our neighbor. Well, he moved out, moved in with her, and the fish scent stopped. So even if spirits don't come around, they can warn you with different things along those lines. So it's definitely a lot of fun for sure. I'm trying to think of some other stories. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. All right, let me see. So, okay, excellent. All right, so let's start doing some readings. Who would like to ask me a question, either a psychic question or a mediumship question? If you have a loved one you want me to connect with, if you're like, who's around me? Raise your hand, and a nice gentleman with a microphone will come around and give it to you. I can also tell you who your spirit guides are. I can tell you what your past lives were. We can do whatever you want. This is your time. All right.
Will I ever be forgiven?
What's your first name?
Martha.
And will you ever be
Forgiven?
You already have been. The thing is that you alone are holding that pain in your body. Do you have back pain?
Yes.
That is your guilt. And the thing is that the love that you have and the pain and the sorrow that you have kind of intermingle there. So you absolutely already have been. You just have to let yourself be okay with letting go of that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Hi, my name is Carrie, and I was just asking if there's anybody around me that I need to know.
Hi, Carrie. Yes, there is. There's an older man around you. Now, has Dad passed for you?
No.
Okay, so this is somebody saying that they're worried about Dad's health. Is Dad having some like digestive or something with the chest? Do you know?
Oh, most likely yes.
Okay, because he's not eating very healthily, is he?
Oh no.
He's like a trash panda. He just won't. He'll eat whatever he wants. And so they're saying that he really needs to take care of himself, and they're worried about his blood pressure, especially. This is like his mother that's around, and so she's like, "I love you, but he needs to take care of himself. I love you, but he needs to be taken care of." You also have a male around you who is a spirit guide. And interestingly enough, his name is Hennessy, like the whiskey. He's got those smoky blue eyes. He's beautiful. And he keeps saying that you need to get back into the music. I don't know if you play or if you sing or if you just love listening to music, but it makes you happy. And so you have some neck and shoulder issues, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. This is all the pressure that you're holding from trying to hold everything together and take care of everybody. So a really good way to do this is you can do it via like affirmation, like I understand that I cannot control the world and that I will hold myself together and I will take care of myself, therefore I can take care of other people. The other way is salt bath. Nice salt bath. Just understanding that looking at the things that bother you and just looking at, can I deal with this right now or can I let it lay down for a minute and just rest? Because I also see some sleeping issues for you as well. And there's something about some dehydration. The kidneys are a little thirsty. They're not in any danger, but the kidneys are definitely kind of a little thirsty. So
Okay.
some water.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Oh, I can't hear you, my dear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I recently had a family member die.
Mhm.
You see who met that family member and how many?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so I'm not able to see chronological. I can just see who's around you. You've got 3 people around you in spirit. If somebody, okay, there's a woman, there's a motherly energy around. Is mom passed for you? Okay, so this is connected to mom's sister. There's like a grandmotherly figure, great grandmotherly figure to you as well. There's also an older man as well. I keep seeing something I keep seeing a ball cap. So I don't know if this man wore like a ball cap or something.
My dad.
Okay, and is he passed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, is he the recent past?
No.
No, I keep seeing, was he diabetic?
No.
Because I keep seeing chocolate, like he wants snacks.
He loved Oreos.
He's like, I like the snacks. Like, I don't care about anything else. I love the snacks. I also see a wedding ring as well.
Yes.
And I keep feeling that it's almost like, but you promised you'd stay. And you promised that you'd be here with me, and you promised that we would be taking care of each other. And this person doesn't show me their likeness, they just show me the ring, and that tells me that this is somebody who was very important and that you had a promise with. I keep feeling like that did they have anything on their back, like a tattoo or anything on them?
No, but the family member that recently died did.
Okay, because they're talking about the tattoo and they're talking about the ring. Okay, so the person that's talking about this with the ring is talking about the tattoo, and they're saying that they are together. It almost feels like this sibling kind of energy, and even if it may not have been, it feels very kinship-like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And this person, they that had the tattoo, they felt younger. They had a kind of maybe like an immature spirit. Does that make sense?
Young, not immature, but young, yes.
Yeah. And it feels like that there's somebody who, it just, they struggled a bit with depression. There may have been some sort of confusion towards their death because they're not presenting as a, hey, I'm here, I'm at the party. They're presenting as they're very sheepish and they're very ashamed.
Okay.
So they're coming in with an apology, and it's kind of like, I'm so sorry that I went, that I passed, which either presents as a passing before their time or at their own hands, or it was an accident, but it was kind of during a difficult time in their lives. So I hope that's
I am connecting 3 different people with what you've talked.
okay. Call me. We'll situate. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Oh,
Hey, Stacy.
hey. Like halfway through your presentation, I just felt like this big heaviness and
Mhm.
stuff on me, and I was wondering if you had any insight into that.
So your spirit guides gather. I'm like, hey, Stacy, we're here to hang out with you. This lady knows. And so one of them is, are you in the helping profession, like nursing or medical at all?
I'm a teacher.
Okay, because I keep seeing helping. So there's a woman named Margaret who's around you who is a spirit guide, and she was a nurse in World War II, and she is not a family member, but you two had a connection in some way, shape, or form that she felt like she wanted to help you. There's also a young boy named Thomas. He keeps saying that he's the child that you could keep. I don't know if that means anything to you at all, but he's a younger child who is very much claiming you as mama, even though it's not biological. And then there is a older man. His name is Brecken. He's like, it means dirty water, but I promise I'm clean. And he's kind of a quirky older gentleman, very southern. And he is your financial guide. And he says that he knows that you're stressed, but everything's going to be okay. And you need to start saving your change for a rainy day.
Good, because that's what I do.
Excellent.
Change into a little jar.
You're already ahead of the game. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Nancy.
Hi.
I'm going into a new career path, and I was wondering if my spiritual guides had any advice for me.
And you said your name is Nancy?
Yes.
They are so excited, Nancy, because you're doing this for yourself. You've always done for everybody else. You've always been the caregiver, the nurturer, the doer. And it's about darn time that you step into your own power. So they're very excited with this, and they say that it's going to be very prosperous. It'll take some time, but you will have a good amount of money coming from this. Now, is this going to be like a side business, or are you owning your own business, or do you already have like a side business along with this?
Right now, I don't have a side business.
Okay.
So
It's coming.
okay.
It will come to you. Also, they're talking about a move next year. I don't know if you want to move, but they're saying earlier next year you're going to be moving by choice. And to go through your paperwork because it's piling up.
Okay.
They tell on everybody. No one is safe.
Thank you.
Of course. Mhm. Oh, can you speak in the microphone? Uh-oh, we might have a faulty microphone. If you speak up a little bit like this, I can try to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Jill.
Hi, Jim.
I had something happen at my house about a month ago. Something got thrown. As a paranormal investigator, I couldn't debunk it. I didn't feel fearful,
No.
but I'm wondering if you have any feelers about who that was and why.
Yes, that's just Jacob. He's 5 and he likes to play with your stuff. Do you have a dog as well? Or an animal?
I have animal, but my dogs are all passed.
Because your dog and this child play together constantly. Jacob, he's 5. You didn't bring him home with you. He just kind of decided to move in and hang out. He lived on the property behind your house. There used to be some water there. And he drowned in like the 40s. He likes to hang out. He likes the energy there, and he likes to keep you company. He's got light brown hair, freckles. He's light complected, and I think he's got green eyes. He just thinks that you're very comforting to him, and he doesn't mean any ill with it. He just wanted to get your attention because he's like, you want to see a spirit? Let me show you a spirit, So, but he absolutely meant no ill, and he's still around. If you want him to go, you can. But he likes to hang out. He feels like your space is very fun. You have fun things and shiny things.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Mason.
Hi, Mason.
Could you tell me about my past life?
Of course. You've had a couple. You're actually an old soul. So what that means is that you've had many past lives. You're wiser than your age, if it makes any sense. You're a deep thinker and you're very thoughtful towards others. So do you want a fun one or an odd one?
Either one.
Okay. I'll give you the fun one then. It's fun. So you were once a pirate. You in 1380, your name was Jonathan Schwartz, and you were a mixture of things. You came from like the Netherlands area, but you also had English in you, and you as a baby, you were given up for adoption. So nobody really knew what your origins were, and you were brought by a ship to England to live with a family. That's the Schwartzes. They adopted you. And the father was a sea captain, and you just always saw how he got beaten down by the officials that would take their fair share before he could take his items ashore. And so you decided that you were going to be like Robin Hood. You were going to take from the rich to give to the poor. And it worked out for about 6 years. When you were 18, you got your own ship from your father. He thought you were going to use it for something different, like merchant, kind of stuff. And you decided to be a pirate. So you went to Spain and you robbed people, and you gave it to your family. You took care of your family until a horrible storm came up one night. You were in your mid to late 20s. You were going back to get married, and your betrothed's name was Isabel, and you got caught in a horrible, horrible storm and you drowned. But you had already given your family so much, and you were never caught. Your family was never seen as being thieves or anything like that, but you just wanted to make sure that your family was cared for. And so the lesson in this life is that you always try to be watchful and protective of your family. You're very much a nurturer and a caregiver. You feel your family's emotions very deeply. When they're hurt, you hurt. You are a bit of an empath. Do you know what that means?
No.
So an empath is somebody who, say, I don't know, a parent is having a bad day. You walk into the house and you can just tell there's something off. And so you can tap into that and try to work with just feeling how people feel. You really need to watch out though, protect yourself from that in the sense that you can kind of carry too much with you. So I would get yourself a clear quartz. They sell them everywhere. Preferably a rough clear quartz, not a tumble, because rough quartz can kind of transmute or get rid of anything negative. But usually empaths are very psychic as well. So you may have a future in this kind of vein for yourself, or at least in helping people, because that is a big part of you as well, is trying to help people. And you don't like when people get bullied. You don't like when people get mistreated. And so you have that honorable bit about you. So that's one of your past lives.
Thank you.
Of course.
My name is Sandra. I
Hi.
had a loved one pass 4 months ago, and I just wanted to know if he had a message for his wife and son.
So I feel him. So is he connected to the John, the J initial? Do you know?
No.
Because he keeps saying that there's a J initial that he's around. So I don't know if that's connected to you or to him, or I don't know, but there's a J initial that's strong with him. It's not him, but he's connecting with the J. This is the last name. But his message is that he is there and he's with them and he knows that they are suffering and that they don't know, they've got a lot of sorrow and they feel very upset. And he wants them to know that it's okay to be angry that he's not there, because he's angry that he's not there either. And he's very sorry. He watches over the family all of the time, and he tries to make contact. He tries to do things. He just wants to know what they want him to do, because if they want him to knock on the wall or to send something to, he's newly deceased, so he's not sure what they will see and what they will recognize as him. But I keep hearing the Beatles in my head, the group, and I keep hearing the song Imagine. So I don't know if he was a Beatles fan or not, but that's the thing that's in my head. And he just wants them to know that he is sorry and that he loves them very much and that he fought as best he could.
Thank you.
Of course. No. Oh, there. A little bit closer.
Is that better?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Chelsea,
Mhm.
and I was just kind of curious also if I've ever had any past lives already.
Sure, Chelsea. So you want to know about your past lives. So you've had a lot of past lives in the medical industry, like as a nurse, a lot of midwife kind of things as well. And are you in medical right now?
No.
Because you don't want it. You've been through it enough. What is that? I'm not birthing no more babies, Miss Scarlett. That's you. You're like, I'm done. I'm over it. So predominantly, you either took care of people as a nurse or you had children, lots and lots of children. So one interesting past life was that in the 1600s, women were not allowed to be nurses, but there were carers or there were, nurturers that would come through the village and bring food and things. So you lived near Provence, France. What is Provence these days? And your name was Mary Catherine, and I believe the last name was Trouveau. And so you were a widower whose husband died when you had gotten married, a few years after you got married. And you were well off in the sense that you were very comfortable, you owned your own home, you had a garden, so you would make food for those who were sick. That you took care of people, and they would give you things in return, like bread or cheese. They'd make sure that you got something in return, or at least they would give you their thanks. And so you somehow were prone to a lot of illness. And so when there was a big fever, kind of like a scarlet fever going around, but it wasn't quite that. There was a huge illness going around in your Provence in this time period. And you were going in there and taking care of them. And then you actually had a sudden fall. It was during the winter time. And when you were riding your horse, and when you got off the horse, it was very icy, and you fell down an embankment and you hit your head and you passed away. And so many people showed up for you. The whole town just loved you to pieces, and you've had many lifetimes with other people who you've been close with, but your mother in this life, is she still living?
Yes, she is.
Are you two close?
Yeah, really close.
Because you two were sisters in that lifetime. And so sometimes, even though you two are close, it feels like sometimes you're the mom and sometimes she's the mom. You role reverse all the time.
That's crazy. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Kristi, we have one more. You have about 2 minutes.
Okay.
My name's Capella.
Can you speak a little bit, honey?
Capella.
Capella, okay.
And I was wondering what path I should pursue when I'm older.
So the answer to that is whatever makes your heart happy. That's kind of the cheater's answer. But in all honesty, you have a lot of creativity, and creativity comes in many different forms, like art or music or even sports with, or dance or whatnot. So it's really important for you to go forward to a path that you feel very enriched in. Education is very important, of course, but also you've got to let that creativity flow. And you have a lot of intuition. Do you have a lot of really interesting dreams, Capella?
Yeah.
So you might get a notepad and write them down, because you might notice that these adventures that you're having in your sleep are actually giving you messages. So that may strengthen as you get older and be able to bring you some insight. I keep seeing a lot of things about writing. Do you like to write?
A little.
A little? I think as you get older, that interest in words and communication, you're going to be a really great communicator. So I mean, maybe you'll go down the political aspect, or maybe you'll go down into a place where you're, writing books. But regardless, you have so many avenues that you could choose that I'm not seeing any one direct one, because you have so much to offer the world. Just don't be afraid to chase your adventures and your dreams.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Now, if anybody would like to come and get one of my cards, I'm at a booth out that direction. And I'm also doing a giveaway for a 1-hour session, be it quantum healing or mediumship or a reading, a psychic reading. So come over, say hey, and fill out one of my cards and take one of my cards as well. And then thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you, Kristi.